Hello crafters, Flavia here and welcome to day 13 of the Spellbinders 2025 Crafty Advent Calendar. I have been recording one video for each one of these doors, and in case you have missed any of the previous videos, make sure to click on the link in the description box down below so you can check it out later. So let's go ahead and open this door over here to find out what today's surprise is. So this is actually one of the biggest doors in this calendar, so my guess for today is maybe another stencil set. Let's see. So I'm gonna fold this open so we can check out the image of the content inside. So it might be either a stencil or an embossing folder. And it is an embossing folder. I wonder if this is bigger than the other one. Let's compare. No, it's the same size. So this is the embossing folder that we got on day 6. And today we have another one with beautiful floral designs. So this is what we're gonna be using today to make a note card. By the way, today I am crafting for the first time over my new glass board studio and I am so excited about it. This is actually a magnetic board and I did get these accessories. They are magnetic and they are going to help me hold the cardstock in place depending on the technique. So yes, I can't wait to begin crafting over this surface. So to be able to use this glass mat, I had to move the lights further from this mat so it doesn't reflect as much on this media mat. So let me know what you think and if you prefer the white mat, this one, or the black one. I am really interested in knowing what you guys think and if it is easier for you and better to see the supplies that I have over either a white media mat such as this one or over a black media mat, which is what I was using up until yesterday. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and without further ado, let's get started. I am really into making pink note cards, so here I have a panel that I cut from Spellbinders cardstock in the color Blush. So this is the panel that I am going to use to do the dry embossing technique, and I am thinking about doing something different today and simply dry embossing one section on a diagonal. So even though this is a very small embossing folder, you can actually use it to cover a bigger panel, which is what I did on day 6. So if you want to do that, you definitely can, and that's what I did on day 6. So if you're interested in learning how to cover the entire panel with a mini embossing folder, make sure to check the video for day 6. So basically for this panel, I had to dry emboss it 3 times to cover the entire panel. And the secret here is to line up the design on the embossing folder with the previous dry embossed design on the cardstock. Also, there is a trick for placing the clear plates on top of the embossing folder to avoid some harsh lines and also to avoid flattening the previously dry embossed panels. So if you haven't done this before, make sure you check out the video for day 6. So again, today we are not gonna cover the whole panel. We're only gonna do a section right in the center. So I'm gonna begin by placing this folder on a diagonal, like so, right in the center of this panel. And to do the dry embossing technique, I'm gonna use my Platinum 6 machine. And to build the sandwich, we need platform A, then platform B. Next, we're gonna add the embossing folder. This is a regular embossing folder with the cardstock inside. So if you're using a 3D embossing folder, by the way, the sandwich configuration is completely different, so make sure you check the instructions for creating your sandwich. Then I'm gonna add a clear cutting plate on top and run this through. So let's now check the result. Here's a closer look. So my paper did crack a little bit, and I don't know if I want to keep it as it is. Ooh, the back is also nice. So I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna try this one more time. So I cut this panel to 4 1/4 by 5 inches. And before I dry emboss it, I am actually going to mist this cardstock with some water to soften the paper and hopefully avoid those cracks on the cardstock. So again, I'm gonna position the cardstock inside the embossing folder, a little bit on a diagonal, and we're gonna dry emboss this panel. So here is a closer look. Love the result. Okay, so here is a comparison. So with this one, I didn't miss the cardstock, so the paper did tear with the dry embossing technique. And with this one, we didn't have that problem because I missed the cardstock. The paper did warp a little bit because I missed it with water. So I'm gonna leave this inside a heavy book for a couple of minutes just to flatten this panel. In the meantime, I am going to cut out all of the needed pieces to decorate the front of my note card. So off screen, I cut out all of these pieces using Spellbinders cardstock, and to cut out these beautiful blooms, I used metal plates included in the surprise behind door number 5 of the Crafty Advent Calendar, which is one of my favorites. And to cut out these bigger branches, I actually used a die plate included in this older set by Spellbinders. This was actually released as the die of the month for January 2025, and I used this big plate over here. So these are the pieces that I'm gonna glue to the front of my note card. And regarding the sentiment, I might stamp a sentiment using a stamp set included in this advent calendar. And I also cut out 2 thin cardstock strips, same color of cardstock as the one that I used to cut out the panel that I'm gonna glue to the front of my note card. Okay, so here is the panel. It did do the trick by leaving it inside a book for a couple of minutes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and glue this to the front of my note card. So to glue this panel to the front of my note card, I'm actually gonna open this and finally get to use this magnet to hold this in place so it's not so slippery. And that is the thing that I didn't really like about having glass mats, is that the cardstock is just so slippery and it was a little bit annoying. But I love the idea that this one is magnetic and I have these accessories to help me hold the paper in place as I'm working on it. And that is what I think is gonna make me like working on a glass surface. And to be honest, I really wanted to like using a glass surface because it is easier to clean. However, I just couldn't get used to having my cardstock sliding all the time. So the magnets are very strong and I am actually loving using this glass media mat. Actually, I made a mistake here. I do not... Wait a second. So I'm gonna remove this. The glue hasn't completely dried, so what I really want to do is... Actually, since I have glue in the back, I am going to add this over a piece of cardstock. It's just for dimension, and before I glue this to my note card, I'm gonna trim off the edges. So the reason why I didn't want to glue this pink panel to my note card just yet is because I want to add these thin cardstock strips to frame the dry embossed pattern, and I'm gonna add the thin cardstock strip right below this line and then above this other line at the bottom. So the cardstock strip is actually going to hide these 2 lines and better frame the dry embossed design. To glue these cardstock strips, I'm simply going to apply liquid glue in the back using the Bearly Art glue, and I'm gonna line up this first cardstock strip with the line that the embossing folder created on the cardstock. Then I am going to add this second one above this line at the bottom. So now we can go ahead and trim off the excess. So here is the dry embossed panel trimmed off to 5¼ inches tall by 4 inches wide. And before I glue this back to the front of this white note card, I am actually going to add these die cut pieces first, because if I need to trim them off, then I can. So now again, I'm gonna use these to hold my panel in place because it really annoys me when it's sliding away from me. And I am simply now playing around with these die cuts without permanently gluing them in place. So I just want to kind of see and figure out what I like best. So I want these die cuts to overlap the dry embossed patterns, but not too much because I want it to show. So I'm trying to be very mindful of that. And I also need to remember to leave room down here to stamp a sentiment later. Okay, so this is just so I have an idea of the placement for the die cuts. I think this is kind of where things are going to go. So now I am going to go ahead and stamp a sentiment. So this is a stamp set from day 11 of the Advent calendar, and I think I want to turn this into a birthday note card. So I can either stamp the sentiment on a diagonal following the cardstock strip, or I can stamp this on the bottom right corner. I think these are two great options, and yeah, I'm gonna go with the bottom right corner. So to stamp the sentiment, I'm gonna use my Misty stamping tool so I do not risk messing up this panel. I'm gonna use this magnet to hold it in place. Then I am going to position the clear stamp at the bottom right corner of this panel. Now I can close the door to pick up the stamp, and I'm going to use black pigment ink. So here is the stamped message. Before I move on to the next step, I'm gonna clean this up really quickly and put the stamp back in the packaging so I don't lose it. So now we can begin decorating this panel with these beautiful die cut plumes. So I'm gonna begin with this big branch over here. Actually, I think I wanna add some depth to these branches by ink blending over them with a darker shade of green ink. So here I'm using Simon Says Stamp ink pad in the color Fairway, and with a small blending brush, I'm applying a little bit of ink in the center. So once that is done, I can go ahead and add here one branch on the bottom left corner of this panel. And while the glue dries, I'm gonna go ahead and add foam squares in the back of this smaller flower, because I want this one to have some dimension. So now I'm gonna add the second branch, and this one is also going to overlap the dry embossed pattern, but just a little bit. Gonna use a magnet to hold it down in place as the glue dries. This is so helpful. So now I need to think about where these bigger flowers are going to go. Okay, I think I got it. So this one, I'm gonna tuck it under this leaf at the bottom, let it dry for a little while. Now I'm gonna apply liquid glue in the back of this second large flower, and this one is gonna be leaning towards the stamped sentiment. I'm gonna use this magnet to hold the die cuts down in place as the glue dries, which only takes a couple of seconds. So now I'm gonna begin tucking in the red ones. Okay, so here is the completed panel. Now I am going to trim off these leaves over here that are hanging off of my panel. To do so, I'm using a pair of scissors, and once that is done, I will use liquid glue to adhere this pink panel to the front of my A2 size stop folding note card. Okay everyone, so here is a closer look at the completed note card that I created using today's surprise. So inside the note card, I actually stamped a sentiment that reads, "Hope your birthday is filled with lots of family, friends, food and fun." And at the front we have the sentiment, "I heard it's your birthday." And I love the end result. This might be my new favorite color combo with Spellbinders cardstock, which are pink cardstock in the color Pink Sand, which is what I used for the background. No, sorry, I used blush for the background. Then for the large flowers, I combined Pink Sand and Tutu, and for the red pieces, I used Spellbinders cardstock in the color Poppy Field, which is my favorite red since it is so bright. So here is a close look, and then of course in the center of this panel we have a little bit of texture thanks to today's surprise, which is this mini embossing folder. I also stamped a sentiment to the flap of the envelope that reads "Happy Birthday," and I added a thin cardstock strip to the flap of this craft color envelope to match the note card and bring everything together. By the way, to stamp the messages on the envelope and inside this note card, I used a stamp set by Stampendos, available at Spellbinders website. This is the birthday messages stamp set with lots of really great sentiments, perfect for wishing somebody a happy birthday. So this completes this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching and felt inspired to create. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the reveal of the surprise behind door number 14. As always, thank you for spending this time with me. Take care and happy crafting!